Hi, hope everyone is safe and well. I'm Jess and I work in the market research team at Ofcom. It's a real shame that we're not all able to be together in Sheffield this year. But I think it's great that we can still share our thoughts, our research, our ideas and our knowledge virtually. I'm conscious that there would usually be a Q&A at the end of this session and that's not going to be the case this year, but I have included my email address at the end of this presentation. So if you do have any questions or if you want any further information, please don't hesitate to get in touch. So without further ado, over to my presentation. It's made by normal people. A quote from one of the children in our research when asked why they like YouTube. So this presentation will use findings from our annual large-scale quantitative tracking survey and our small-scale ethnographic longitudinal qualitative research study among children to explore children's content consumption landscape. So are children still watching live broadcast TV? How does live broadcast TV stack up against the desire to watch what you want when you want to watch it? We'll also look at children's content needs, the platforms they use to meet these needs, and whether they think it's important that the content they watch reflects them and their lives. And finally, we'll explore how the YouTuber and influencer culture has developed over time. All of this research was conducted before the coronavirus pandemic and is a reflection of children's media habits and attitudes in 2019. We are conducting some research among our qualitative sample of children to understand how their media habits and attitudes have changed during lockdown. And a report on this will be published on our website in the next couple of months. In 2019, 3/4 of children watched live TV, live broadcast TV. So a quarter didn't. Meanwhile, 80% of 5 to 15s watched any form of video on demand content, so more than those that watched live broadcast TV. And we can see that viewing of VOD has almost doubled in the last 5 years. We do know from our research that of the quarter of children who don't watch live TV, the majority, so 85% of these, do watch some form of video on demand. So it's not that those children are not watching any content at all. It's also worth noting that viewing of video on demand content increases with age. So it ranges from 65% of 3 to 4s to 88% of 12 to 15s, while viewing of live broadcast TV is comparable across the age groups. Figures from Barb also show an overall decline in broadcast television viewing by children on the TV set. Viewing among children across the UK, aged 4 to 15, declined in 2019 by over an hour since 2018. So down from 8 hours 59 minutes a week of consolidated broadcast TV in 2018 to 7 hours 56 minutes in the first half of 2019. And as we can see at this infographic here, each UK nation saw a drop in the number of broadcast hours that children watched in the first half of 2019 compared to the same period in 2018, with Northern Ireland having the largest decrease. While no single video on demand provider has surpassed viewing of live broadcast TV, children are more likely to watch subscription on demand services, so things like Netflix, Amazon Prime, than other types of VOD. So for example, like advertising VOD, such as YouTube or Vimeo, or broadcaster VOD, such as iPlayer, ITV Hub. Within the subscription video on demand category, more children watch Netflix than the other subscription VOD providers. And reflecting these findings, over the past 6 years, our Media Live study has shown an increasing consumption of video on demand content, and Netflix in particular, in favour of live TV. This shift in consumption habits appears to be driven by the instant availability and the maximum choice that video on demand offers. Despite the decline in watching live broadcast TV, the TV set remains the dominant device in children's homes. However, the proportion of children watching TV content on a TV set has decreased over time. So from 96% in 2015 to 91% in 2019. Meanwhile, the proportion of 5 to 15s using mobile devices to watch TV programs or films are increasing and are doing so at a faster rate than the decline in watching a TV set. 43% now use a tablet for this purpose and 26% use a mobile. Older children especially are shifting to mobile devices for their viewing needs, perhaps due to them being more likely to own their own smartphone or tablet. So, for example, although a smaller proportion use a mobile phone to watch TV content, use has increased significantly since 2018, and actually 41% of 12 to 15s use a mobile to watch TV content compared to 22% of 8 to 11s. So we know that children are seeking a variety of content in their viewing habits, but what do they actually think of this content? So if we asked children aged 8 to 15 if they felt there were enough programs on TV that represented them in some way. Here we can see that 2/3 of UK children think that there are enough programs that show children that look like them, with this proportion unchanged since 2018. Half feel that there are enough programs that show children from the same part of the country as them, but both 8 to 11s and 12 to 15s are less likely to think this than in 2018. But it's also, among 8 to 11s, it was also less important to have this and to be able to see children from the same part of the country as them than it was previously. And children are even less likely to feel there are enough programs for children their age. Just 4 in 10 children think this. And the younger age group, so your 8 to 11s, feel this is of more importance than the older age group, so the 12 to 15s. When we look at the views among the devolved nations, we can see that children in both Wales and Northern Ireland are less likely to feel any of these compared to those in England and Scotland. And at the same time, children in Wales and Northern Ireland feel it is more important that there are enough programmes that show children from their country compared to those in England and Scotland. Ofcom highlighted its concerns about the lack of programmes that enable children to see themselves on screen in our children's content review. We expect that the commercial public service broadcasters' subsequent renewed commitment and the new investment from the BFI's Young Audience Content Fund to improve the availability of programmes that better reflect young people's lives from across the UK. So, how does YouTube fit into this? Well, we already know that YouTube is a significant player in the panorama of children's content consumption, and actually this has been the case for quite a long time now. So use of YouTube hasn't really changed between 2015 and 2019. And actually 3/4 of 5 to 15s said that in 2019 they watched YouTube. So this is very similar to the proportions that watch video on demand content or live TV. But when asked to pick, both 8 to 11s and 12 to 15s said they would prefer to watch YouTube over SVOD and TV content. So we asked children if they had to pick just one to watch, which would they choose out of TV channels like BBC, ITV, Channel 4 or 5 or Sky, subscription on demand providers, so Netflix or Amazon Prime or Now TV, or YouTube. And YouTube was the overriding winner. So why is this? YouTube gives children total control and choice over what they watch and gives them access to a wide range of content not available on TV channels. Several children in our media lives research explained that they preferred the content available on YouTube to that on live TV or on video on demand services such as Netflix. So for instance, Zach, who's 10, said he found that there was more content on YouTube that aligned to his interests, such as the YouTuber Dan TDM. In fact, Zach changed his YouTube name to be like his favourite YouTubers. He changed his name to Zach TDM after Dan TDM. Some of the children described TV as, quote, random compared to YouTube because they couldn't find specific content that they wanted to watch. And Susie, age 9, explained that she preferred the choice on YouTube and she didn't really like TV because you can't pick what channels are on it. Others felt that the YouTubers and the content produced on YouTube were more relatable and wanted to show them support. So for example, William, who's 16, said that he preferred YouTube over Netflix because it's made by normal people. He particularly liked commentary channels, so channels where he could watch content producers watching and reacting to other videos they found online, such as the YouTuber Jack made. In a similar vein, Jack, who's 15, estimated that he watched YouTube every day for 1 to 2 hours. I will just note that fieldwork was conducted during the summer holidays. He said that while watching, he liked to subscribe to a lot of content producers as he felt that this would help the YouTubers who were creating the content that he enjoyed watching. Thinking about YouTubers and our media lives research is really unique because we've been following the same children over time. And actually, this has given a really rich insight. It allows us to actually have a rich insight and really understand trends as opposed to as distinct from kind of fads. And actually, we can see how the YouTuber and influencer culture has developed over time. In previous years, our research explored how some YouTubers were seen to be living aspirational lives and how watching promotional videos from YouTubers actually increased awareness among children of product endorsement and sponsorship to some extent, and how some children had been influenced to make purchases after seeing these products endorsed by these big YouTube personalities that they watched. But in more recent years, we found that children were specifically using YouTube to seek out content to which they related personally. And in 2019, we saw a shift in the type of influencers that children are following. The children in our sample still followed some of the big name YouTubers who were popular in previous years, so such as Zoella, who at the time of fieldwork had, I think, 1.2 million followers, and Kylie Jenner, who had 145 million followers at the time of fieldwork. But they were also increasingly following a number of peer-to-peer or local influencers known as micro or nano influencers. These are people with tens or hundreds of thousands of followers rather than millions. The children seem to value being able to follow the lives of people in their local area who have similar interests to them. So for example, horse riding or skateboarding. And some of the children also seem to want to gain more direct engagement with these influencers. And these influencers, these micro-influencers, these nano-influencers tend to be more amenable to this than their well-established or sort of celebrity counterparts. And some children were actually posting content emulating what they'd seen influencers post online. So, for example, one male respondent was following Wheelie K on Instagram. Wheelie K is a micro-influencer posting about bikes. He had around 140,000 followers at the time this research was conducted. So Wheelie K had recently posted a video of himself riding quite recklessly through a busy London street on his bike. And sometime after this video was posted, the boy in our research uploaded a very similar video of himself riding his bike the same model as Wheelie K, through the roads in his hometown. And the boy tagged Wheelie K in this post and several other posts in which he was kind of posting about bikes or cycling. So you can see how with these kind of micro influencers, these nano influencers with smaller followings, there's that opportunity for more sort of direct engagement with them. And actually some platforms, so like TikTok, actually sort of encourage children to follow a sort of set template and actually propagate this kind of copycatting behaviour. And some of the children we spoke to actually knew people who were in some ways an influencer. So, for example, Jasleen, who was 16, said her best friend was a beauty influencer, and this friend had over 25,000 followers on Instagram. Jasleen reported that her friend had started making money by posting images of projects and tagging them. And Jasleen, who herself had nearly 4,000 followers at the time of research, had started to emulate some of these behaviours. So we're seeing that children are following and emulating more peer-to-peer local influencers, and the line between the general public and influencers is becoming increasingly blurred. So what does this tell us about content that appeals most to children? Well, children seem to place a very high value on localness. Ultimately, kids love kids like them. Thank you for listening. For more information and for links to our full research reports, please visit our website. I'll put the link at the end of the presentation here. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to drop me an email. Stay safe and well, and hopefully see you all again next year.